of Supreme Court Justice Hari Prasad Puyal has sought clarification for not proceeding with the case against Rashtriya Swatantra Party chairperson Rabi Lamichanis regarding the abuse of his passport. Good evening, I'm Sarah Chitrakar and these are the headlines of the hour. Hearing on the writ filed against Prime Minister Dahal at the Supreme Court concludes. Apex Court seeks clarification on not proceeding with the case against Rashtriya Swatantra Party chair Lamichanis. World Bank projects Nepal's economic growth rate to be limited to 4.1% in 2023. Identify inflation and import restrictions as challenges. Call for political stability. French President Emmanuel Macron lands in Beijing for his first state visit to China in over 3 years, keen to stress Europe's rejection of China's arms collaboration with Russia. And Barcelona take on main rivals Real Madrid in the second leg of the Copa del Rey semi-final tie. Los Blancos aim to overturn last month's 1-0 defeat at Bernabeu. The hearing on the writ filed at the Supreme Court against Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal has concluded. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has sought clarification for not proceeding with a case against Rashtriya Swatantra Party chairperson Rabi Lamichanis regarding the abuse of passport. Heading on the writ filed against Prime Minister Dahal on his statements regarding the armed insurgency period in the single bench of Supreme Court Justice Hari Puyal has concluded. However, a verdict has not been issued. Meanwhile, hearing on the writ against Lamichanis has also been held in the bench of Puyal as well. The Apex Court has sought clarification for not proceeding with the case against Lamichanis. The writ against Lamichanis was not heard yesterday by the single bench of Justice Anil Kumar Sinha. Meanwhile, the candidacy of Lamichanis has remained intact for the by-election for the House of Representatives in Chitwan Electoral Constituency 2. According to the election office, Lamichanis' candidacy has remained intact because of inadequate claims against him. Prior to this, Rashtriya Swatantra Party's chairperson Rabi Lamichanis had submitted a 6-page clarification to the Office of Election Officer as he looks to contest for the House of Representatives by-election on April 23rd. Lamichanis had reached the Chief Election Officer's office in Bharatpur this afternoon to submit his clarification to the complaints filed against his candidacy. According to Assistant Election Officer Ishwar Acharya, upon receiving Lamichanis' clarification, the Office of the Chief Election Officer corresponded with the Election Commission to better understand the scenario and make a decision. Sources say Lamichanis has mentioned in his clarification that he had used his new citizenship to file for candidacy as opposed to the complaint filed against him that says he used his old citizenship. Lamichanis has submitted point-wise clarification addressing all complaints filed against him. 3 complaints were filed against his candidacy yesterday at the office of the Chief Election Officer by candidates and their representatives. Yuvraj Paudel had filed his complaint through an email. The Office of the Chief Election Officer had given Lamichanis till 2 p.m. today to submit his clarification. 24 individuals have filed their candidacies for the by-election from Chitwan 2. The 21-member consultation committee of the House of Representatives has been formed. Tomorrow's meeting of the House of Representatives is to endorse the members of the committee. A meeting including political parties represented at the Parliament led by Speaker Devraj Khemere concluded on the members of the committee. Based on the representation of parties at the Parliament, the committee will include 6 members from Nepali Congress, 5 from CPN-UML and 2 from CPN-Maoist Centre along with a member each from Rashtriya Swatantra Party, Janata Samajwadi Party, Rashtriya Prajatantra Party, CPN Unified Socialist, Janamat, Loktantrik Samajwadi Party, Nagarik Unmukti Party, Aam Janta Party and Independent Parliamentarian. Tomorrow's meeting of the House of Representatives will endorse the name of the members of the committee. Meanwhile, discussions were also held today regarding giving a full shape to the Parliamentary Hearing Committee. However, a consensus remained elusive. Despite embracing democratic administrative mechanism with a modern approach, the rule of law and procedures has weakened in Nepal as political parties and state operators have been prioritizing their political and personal interest. According to the latest report of the World Justice Project, Nepal, which has ranked 48th in 2015 in the world for the rule of law, has dropped to the 69th position as of 2022. With failure in ensuring the implementation of the consultation and law, along with lapses in political integrity and good governance, Nepal has dropped 21 positions in the span of 8 years. With poor performance of the parliament, government, judiciary and administrative mechanisms, indicators have hinted towards weakening democracy and rule of law. Analysts have expressed concern towards violating of law on the basis of power or political protection, depleting standards of human rights, corruption and politicization of the judiciary. As per the report of the WJP, Denmark ranks first while Venezuela is ranked 140th. Among the South Asian countries, Sri Lanka is placed 74th, India is placed 77th, Bangladesh is ranked 127th, while Pakistan is placed 129th. According to the World Bank, the economic growth rate of Nepal is to be limited to 4.1% in the ongoing fiscal year. As per the conclusion of the World Bank, despite the growth of service and agriculture sector, the shrinking of industries and construction sector occupied with the reduction in flow of loans in the private sector are to reduce the economic growth rate. Making public the Nepal Development Update, the World Bank has said that the contribution of the service sector in Nepal's economic growth rate is likely to be limited to 5.2% in the ongoing fiscal year and is likely to figure 5.8% the next year. Contribution of the agriculture sector is likely to figure 2.6%. The report states that price of consumable goods is likely to continue increasing because of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. The World Bank has said that expansion of the economy is likely to be obstructed because of inflation higher than expectations. It has further added that the economic growth has slowed down because of the monetary policy of the Nepal Rashtra Bank, global inflation and policies implemented to curb imports. Meanwhile, analysts have said that strict policies are the need of the hour, saying political stability was imperative to ensure economic development and expansion. The World Bank has suggested Nepal to ensure the same. The World Bank issues the report twice a year by considering major economic indicators and global factors. Despite the lapse of 12 years since the beginning of construction, the building of Jaljala campus in Rolpa is yet to be completed. The building of the campus has remained stranded because of the irresponsibility on the part of the contractors and the campus administration. Construction works of the building had begun in the Nepali month of Bhadra in the year 2067 BS. The construction contract of the building was assigned to Diva Construction Services and Dragon Builders Private Limited JV Lalitpur at 44,493,000 rupees with a deadline of 18 months. Despite 3 extension of deadlines, 20% works of the building are yet to be completed. The construction company has already received 39,973,000 rupees. However, the delay in completion of the building has affected the regular operation of the Jaljala multiple campus. The campus administration has not paid any interest towards taking action against the construction company, which has not completed the building even in the long period of 12 years. Double above-knee amputee and former British Army Hari Buddha Magar has embarked on his Mount Everest expedition. Magar headed towards the Everest Base Camp today and looks to climb the highest mountain of the world with the help of his bionic legs. Ahead of his journey, Magar said it took him 5 years to get the permit for the expedition and that he hopes to complete it in 2 months' time. Magar hopes to make a world record and add value to the country's image in the international platform, as well as to become an inspiration to many living with disability.
मान राख्नु र नेपाल र नेपालीलाई विश्व सामु एउटा राम्रो इमेज दिनु हो। सेकेन्ड कुरा चाहिँ डिसेबिलिटी अवेयरनेस गराउनु हो, किनभने चाहिँ म इन्जुरी हुँदाखेरि म डिसेबिलिटीको बारेमा धेरै थाहा थिएन र मध्ये 2 वर्ष रुमले पछि कुनै पनि डिसेबिलिटी हुनेहरू त्योमा रुमलिन नपरोस् एउटा कुरा चाहिँ। अनि अर्को कुरा चाहिँ जुन सपना देख्छन् जसले आफ्नो सगरमाथा आफ्नो हिमाल चढ्न चाहन्छ उनीहरूलाई एउटा प्रेरणा दिनु हो।
Horibuda Mogar has made records by successfully summiting many mountains, including the renowned Mount Kilimanjaro, Mera Peak and Chulu. Born in the year 1979, Mogar joined the British Gurkha at the young age of 19. He had lost his legs while serving in the British Army in Afghanistan in 2010. 27-year-old Sujan Bagh Shrestha of Khalasi Toll is to pierce his tongue for the first time in the popular tongue piercing festival of Bode Bhaktapur. Shrestha has announced of piercing his tongue the next day of the new year in the festival of Bode each year. Driver by his profession, Shrestha has announced of piercing his tongue to conserve the tradition. Prior to this, his father, Buddha Krishna Shrestha, had pierced his tongue for the 9th time. The statue of tiger built at the banks of the Kaligandaki river in Rampur, Palpa has become a center of attraction for domestic tourists. More than 200 domestic tourists have been reaching the location in the banks of the Kaligandaki river in Rampur to observe the statue of the tiger and to take photographs. The domestic tourists have also been recording videos for their social media. The statue of the tiger was built with the objective of conserving and promoting the Kaligandaki river, which also holds religious and cultural significance. Time now for our segment, Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
Here's the question: what should be done to curb the spread of coronavirus? Your options are A. Everyone should follow guidelines, B. Ease in access to vaccines, and C. Sound health services. Voting is on. Type any WS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Time now for international update. French President Emmanuel Macron landed in Beijing on Wednesday for his first state visit to China in over 3 years. Macron has said that during his 3-day visit, he is keen to stress to his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping, who he will meet alongside European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen on Thursday, that Europe will not accept China providing arms to Russia. He also hopes to talk trade and economic ties with Chinese leaders. Macron invited von der Leyen on the trip as a way to project European unity after French officials criticized German Chancellor Olaf Scholz of going solo to China late last year. Macron has pushed the European Union to be more robust in trade relations with China, the French president's advisors said, but he has publicly refrained from using strong anti-China rhetoric, with Beijing being prone to bilateral retaliatory measures. Since Macron's last visit in 2019, China's strict pandemic controls forced all diplomatic meetings online as relations with Europe soured, first due to a stalled investment pact in 2021 and then Beijing's refusal to condemn Russia over its invasion of Ukraine. Foreign ministers from NATO countries on Tuesday posed for a family picture as they gathered for a second day for a meeting expected to focus on defense spending. At their Wales summit in 2014, NATO leaders agreed to move towards spending at least 2% of their gross domestic product, GDP, on defense within a decade. NATO's decision was a reaction to what it perceived as a severely deteriorated security situation in Europe months after Russia's annexation of the Ukrainian peninsula Crimea. Almost 10 years after the Wales pledge and 1 year into Russia's invasion of Ukraine, NATO defense ministers will resume their discussion on how to adapt the spending target during the meeting. In fact, a decision is expected at a NATO summit in Lithuania in July. Rescue teams made final checks on Wednesday for anyone still trapped in an avalanche that swept down on a road in the Indian Himalayan region of Sikkim the day before killing 7 people. Excavators dug through the thick snow as rescuers used shovels to clear ice and snow from the road. Rescue operations resumed on Wednesday morning in a last bid to find more people before the search is called off. Rescue teams pulled 20 survivors from the snow that engulfed the road to the Nathula Pass between Sikkim and the Chinese region of Tibet before calling off their search as bad weather closed in and darkness fell on Tuesday evening. The cause of Tuesday's disaster were not immediately clear. Avalanches have killed at least 120 people in the Indian Himalayas over the past 2 years. Israeli police clashed with Muslim worshippers on Wednesday as they tried to clear the way for Jewish visitors to enter Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque only hours after they attacked dozens of worshippers in the compound before dawn. The morning's attack, which was said to be a response to rioting, sparked protest across the occupied West Bank, and the Israeli military said 9 rockets were fired from Gaza towards Israel after sirens blared in southern towns. Palestinian groups condemned Israel's attack on worshippers, which they described as a crime. Violence in the occupied West Bank and Jerusalem has surged over the past year, and there is concern that tensions could escalate this month as the Muslim holy month of Ramadan coincides with Judaism's Passover and Christian Easter. More than 400 migrants were rescued overnight in international waters off Malta following a complex 11-hour operation, the Doctors Without Borders charity said today. It said its Geo Barents vessel struggled with the rescue due to stormy sea conditions and initially could do little more than throw life jackets to the migrants. One of the migrants who had fainted due to serious dehydration has been airlifted to Malta via helicopter, MSF spokesperson Flavia Pelgola said.
Sports news.
Following a dominant win over Elche to continue their march to the La Liga title, Barcelona returned home for the 5th and final El Clasico of the season as they meet main rivals Real Madrid in the second leg of their Copa del Rey semi-final tie. In the first round match under the qualifiers for the Women's Olympic Football Tournament Paris 2024, Team Nepal are trailing by a goal to nil against Vietnam. The match kicked off at 6 this evening at the Dashrath Stadium in Tripureshwar. That's all for the moment. Our next English bulletin will be at 10:30 tonight. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.